Hey, I'm Scott from AquaQuest, and today I'm going to show you how to set up a very sturdy, very efficient, very quick to pitch, three-sided pyramid shelter. Now, this shelter I think is a fantastic option if you need to get cover quickly. It requires minimal equipment and takes minimal time to set up, and yet it is highly effective at shedding precipitation or wind to keep you safe through the whole night regardless of the weather. So I mentioned minimal equipment to do this. Now, you do not need any cordage, you do not need any guidelines, you do not a specific configuration of trees in order to get this thing pitched nice and snug. Okay, all you need is a minimum of 4 stakes and 1 vertical pole, whether it be a hiking pole or a TARP pole, which I'll be using today, or just a suitable branch or stick that you found lying around the site. Okay, so without further speaking, I'm going to get right to it. The first thing we do with this setup is affix the corners of the back wall. So I've spread this tarp out in a square. That's our starting position. If it were super raining right now, I would actually take my gear and shove it under this. So that's the other advantage of this particular setup. You can drape your tarp over stuff you want protected while you set it up, okay? So minimizing compromise to your gear as you get this thing going. Now, I think I can do this in about 3 minutes, but let's just give it a go and see. So again, we're affixing the corners of our back wall furthest from the camera. Take a corner. Ground's pretty soft, a little bit of cobble, a little bit of root, but not too much resistance there. Opposite corner. Now, draw your back wall tight. It doesn't have to be ridiculously tight. We're not trying to set any records. We're not trying to overstrain the tarp, but we want a nice tight line. Doing nice, even, tight lines, even with your first move, helps ensure that your final pitch is sound and sturdy. Now we're going to move to the front, and here you'll see where the pyramid starts to take shape. I'm going to take the opposite front corners here, and I'm going to draw them together and hold them in one hand, just using my finger here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to form a triangle shape from both back corners. I'm going to make sure both of those lines are taut, okay? And I am going to pin these together. Stick a stake through there. You can see the wind is coming up, so this is a timely pitch because this is an excellent, excellent tarp shelter for windy conditions. I'm going to make sure it's taut on both sides. Again, find my spot in the ground there. Give this a little tap. And now you can see we have a rough, relatively floppy triangle at this point. Let's see if we can get this a bit more architectural. Our next step is to understand that this is our door. Now, again, I promised a pyramid here. We're still a long way through it, but this is going to be our entry point here. From this point in time, we're going to grab our vertical support here, and I'm going to find the middle marked by, there's a tie loop right in the middle of this AquaQuest Safari 10x10 tarp. And that's going to be my center point. That's going to mark the point, the apex of my pyramid, where the pole will support the entire structure. I've actually marked that off on the inside just to make it a little bit simpler. It's an easy exercise for you to undertake. So I am going to disappear for a moment here. And I've got my vertical support. I'm finding that middle sweet spot that will give this pyramid excellent strength. And there we are. And you can see it's not perfectly taut yet, but we will get there. So I'm going to escape through the hatch here. And as you can see, we have some excess fabric, taking this square and making it a pyramid. But this is actually going to work to our benefit. What we are going to do is swing this fabric to one side or the other. So this is the middle front, and it's going to conjoin with the middle side, your choice. And what we can do is put a stake through those two loops simultaneously, and what we get is our shelter. Nice pyramid. Now we don't have to get this one buried in the ground, and I'll show you why in a moment. So that's using 4 stakes, and as I mentioned, 6 stakes in inclement weather is probably advisable. So I'm just going to do that now. And again, I'm not sure exactly what the runtime of that pitch was, but you can consider it fully done at this point. So there we are. 6 stakes, 1 pole, sturdy pyramid shelter. Now, what I'd like to show you is how this door works, because this may look like, oh, I've just locked myself out of my own shelter. That wasn't very smart. What I really like about this setup is it's fully manageable from the inside. So if I pull up this stake, open my door fly here, get inside, it's not too much work to naturally drape this excess door fabric over to the direction I want to seal it. And then, hello, I reach underneath, find that tie out that's draped, and I find my center tie out, and there we go. My stake I have in the tent with me. I call it a tent, it's actually a tarp, but as you can see, it's functioning very much like a tent minus the floor. And if I could thread this, everyone see? And then I can just pin that down inside. If I really needed to, I could even give it a couple of taps from in here. And there we are. I am fully snug and secure in this shelter. I'm approximately 6 feet tall. If I lay along one of the sides here, I have plenty of room to sleep. I would say 2 people in gear could manage this accommodation for the night, especially in an emergency, very easily. So I'm just going to open up my door, leave my stake there, move to the front. Here I am. It is a bit awkward to get in and out of, but a very small price to pay for such a stable, reliable shelter option. So, again, this is a Safari 10 by 10 tarp, approximately 3 meters by 3 meters. I think it's a great option because it's strong while maintaining it a lightweight. And again, it's one of my favorites for longer excursions where I know that this tarp is going to come into some pretty serious contact with the great outdoors, rocks, sticks, stones, so this might be a bit of a bumpy ride, but I'll give you a tour of the perimeter of the tarp. So this would be the view you're familiar with. Again, a close-up of our door latch system. So we have 2 tie-outs connected there. We've connected them lightly. We haven't pushed that peg too far on the ground. So again, we can pull it out or flip the loops over the tab so we can get in and out of our door. Again, around the perimeter, that's where we started. Put another stake in the central position at the back wall. If weather was absolutely bonkers, AquaQuest tarps have plenty of tie-outs. You could actually put a guy line here if it were absolutely necessary. And again, other corner, again, centrally on the sidewall, we've put another stake. You can see we do have some vacant tie-outs on all sides here. We could really pin this thing down if we needed to. Let's just check out the door here. So I'm going to pull out the stake. And then just give you a view here. This is the inside. So a little bit of a journey. You can see there. I haven't got an opportunity to totally clear the ground, but I can do that from the luxury of being sheltered from the rain once I have this thing set up. So here we are in the interior of our 3-sided shelter. It's a cozy space. I think it's perfectly adequate for 2 people, whether in an emergency bivouac situation or if you were doing some backcountry hiking, some fast packing. This tarp 10 by 10 size packs up very, very compact and so easy to carry, and yet you get this very effective shelter system just with this one pitch, not to mention all of the other pitches you could potentially contrive with a square tarp. So again, 2 people, no problem. Fair amount of gear, no problem. Wind, no problem. Rain, no problem. Again, I think it's an excellent setup, and it's a great starter setup to start seeing the potential in tarps, seeing their versatility and getting familiar with practicing these pitches, understanding how it all comes together. In no time at all, you'll become quite proficient and you'll enjoy the process of using your tarp as your primary shelter when you're out in the woods.